Hi, everybody. Welcome to Coach's Corner. Welcome on this amazing session where we're continuing this very, very powerful book, U Squared by Price Pritchett. And we're going through each chapter and just really diving in on what it is to increase your potential. Today, we're talking about success and habits, and we're diving deep here. And this is so important to shifting the essence of who you are and what you believe yourself to be. And it's really fun. And it's always a joy to share this knowledge with my colleagues here. They have expert experience, and it's always great to hear different. Um, what's the word I'm looking for? Someone to help me out with this word.
Perspectives or
That's a good one.
understandings. Yeah.
Yeah, those. It's always great to hear different perspectives and understandings, especially with this
In
knowledge.
translation, right?
You see the
Yeah.
synergy here at Coach's Corner. She can finish my sentences. So Lou's amazing, you know. So my name is Jamel Matias. I'm a certified mindset success coach / business consultant trained by the legend Bob Proctor. I'm the founder of Believe in the Unseen Consulting. So my purpose is to reveal the hidden potential that's already within you and just guide you to your truest desires. It's always about believing in that goal, that dream, and that it's there waiting for you, that it's readily available. And I just help guide you to that. Also, I help hardworking but unfulfilled professionals who know they're capable of more, yet feel stuck in a cycle of effort without progress or clarity and direction in the subconscious programming needed to create the income, freedom, and life they truly desire. I'm in the Maryland area. It's super sunny outside right now. And I'll pass it to my amazing colleague, Lou.
Ah, thank you, Jamel. Good morning. Good morning, Paul. Let me just give a shout out to Alicia. They are celebrating Mother's Day over in Sweden. So happy Mother's Day, Alicia, and to all the moms over there. So, hello, everyone. My name is Lou Perica. I am a success mindset mentor and speaker and founder of Prosperous Results. And I work with growth minded women, and many times they may be in a transition in their life and they feel like there's something more for them, whether it's more success, more fulfillment, more alignment in their life, more income, but something isn't fully clicking. And many times, you know, they're doing all the right things, at least on the outside, but still not seeing the results that they truly desire. And that can leave you feeling frustrated or a little confused. And what I do is I help them understand what's actually driving their current results and how their thoughts and their feelings and their interpretations and patterns are influencing everything. And once they see that, then things start to shift in a real and lasting way. Thank you. And I'm excited about today because we are going to be talking about change your personal rules for success and quit trying harder. So I know today is going to be a great discussion. So I'm going to pass it over to my friend and colleague, Paul.
Thank you, Lou. Thank you, Jamel. My name is Paul Wooters. I'm in Burlington, Ontario, in the GTA. I'm a Proctor Gallagher consultant, success mindset mentor, and I'm the head of the leadership and development department at the World Life Education Center and High School in Oakville. How did all that happen? Well, it happened by following the principles that we talk about here every Sunday through mentorship and study. And so now I'm dedicated to helping individuals like you unlock their full potential through mindset training and self-leadership. I guide individuals to take ownership of their growth, of their learning, of who they want to be, of what type of life they want to design for themselves, and to build confidence and shape a meaningful future from the inside out, and to design your future with intention. And as I like to say, to help you live to your greatest possibilities. Jamel.
All right. I love it. There you go. Thanks. See? How did you know to do that? Man? We're all glowing today. You know, Lou's glowing over there. Paul's glowing. He's glowing so much. He said, I don't even need a tie today. I'm going to be my own tie. I'm just cool like that. So, but yeah, you know, this book is amazing. And before before we dive in here, hello, everyone that's live. Appreciate you being here. And, you know, for those that really want to shift things in their lives and they're serious about it, you know, really tap in what we're sharing here and, you know, engage, but most importantly, just allow, you know, your mindset to be open with this knowledge, because it's extremely powerful when you want to achieve goals you never achieved before, things that you wish you always had, you know. So let's see here. Hold on one second. There we go. Okay. So we're talking about change your personal rules for success. Huh. Does anybody that watches this want to be successful in their lives? Does anybody want to improve some type of result in your life, whether it's money or time, your professional career, maybe some material things you always wanted, or more time with your family? You know, really look at what you truly desire, because that's the starting point of all growth. So, and to change your personal rules for success, listen to this: leveraging up your personal effectiveness by an order of magnitude, going from you to U squared. What is squared? It's basically multiplying whatever the essence of that number is. Not number. We're not numbers. We're unlimited. So we have no idea what your potential is, right? And you actually limit it with your self-image and your paradigm and your own beliefs. But imagine you, an unlimited being, multiplied by itself. That's a lot, right? So it says going from U to U squared is not a commonplace idea. So it's not common to think like this. It's not. And this is why only a few select few that actually watch this will be open to receive it to their subconscious, because this is not common. It's not. But I know you're paying attention. So quantum leaps require paradoxical behavior. What in the world does that mean? Unusual moves. You're going to take actions that are very unusual that you've ever done. Has anybody, my colleagues, we've done that, right? And we can share that today. So these are actions on the surface often seem to contradict common sense. Where common sense is very logical. Very logical. And if you look at the world, most of the things we take for granted, the internet for one, right? Because it's just here, it's been here for a while, and we use it almost every day of our lives. I know people, they have these fancy sprinklers for their yard, and it's programmed through their Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi tracks the weather, so it knows when to automate and turn on the sprinklers. I'm sure a lot of people take that for granted too, because the internet has been here for so long. So to create, and the internet's just one example. We can talk about the Wright brothers and airplanes. We can talk about the light bulbs and electricity. Look around you, right? There's so many things. And this was not common. These are quantum leaps. It contradicted common sense. And these actions, you know, look, Einstein, he contradicted common sense almost every day. And, you know, he's one of the most profound, whatever you want to call them, legends that we've had. So open up your mind to letting go of logical actions, because this is how you quantum leap your success. I'll stop there.
Okay, so I'll hop in. That's okay. So the title that we're talking about today is Change Your Personal Rules for Success. And I mean, and each chapter is just a couple of paragraphs, very, very short. The book itself is very small. You could probably read it in 30 minutes. But what I love about this particular chapter, and I know it hit home for me, and I'm sure it does for many. Most of us think that, most people really don't need more information or even more effort. And what we need is to question the invisible rules that we've been living by for decades. I know that I've never really evaluated those rules. I just accepted them as truth and followed them. And when you think about that, from the time we're born, and they say roughly till about age 7, we've been recording and downloading rules, human constructs, beliefs, habits, patterns, and that has been shaping the lens how we see reality. And we just accept these things. So we've accepted the rules. I know I have. We've accepted the rules that success must be really hard. Um, we must struggle to get really good results, results that we deserve. Um, Maybe we need more credentials before we're ready. Um, if we're not busy, my friends know how that word, I don't like that word. If we're not busy, we're not productive. And if we rest, that we're lazy. And what these rules quietly do is they drive our behavior. We start thinking that maybe we're not good enough. It causes self doubt. We may retract and we settle. So, as it says in this particular chapter, unconventional success calls for unconventional approaches. So, this is why many of the rules that we've been following unconsciously have been giving us our results. So until we observe and really take a good look at our results in life in all areas, whatever success means to you, whether it's financial, whether it's in relationships, your health, you just want to feel fulfilled, whatever that means to you, look at the results, observe them, and notice the patterns and why perhaps they could be constantly being repeated. And this is what he's talking about. What are those internal beliefs that you're not even really aware of? And I know when I first started studying this, I never evaluated my beliefs, I never gave them a second thought. They just were. And now I realize, why did I believe those to be truth? And what I've done is I observed them, I evaluated them, re-evaluated them, and started to believe in what I believe is true for my potential and what is truly possible. And this is what this book is inviting us to do, is not to just go by what you've always been doing and what you think the rules of success are. Paul, I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lou. And it's so true. Like we talk about, in our studying with Bob Proctor, and if you've been following us for some time, and we talk about the program that we facilitate thinking into results, talk about our paradigms. And so in this chapter, change your personal rules for success. I think the author here, Price Pritchett, I mean, it is such a great book too. I mean, as Lou said, it's a small book, but it really needs, as Bob would say, study, like really study the book. Don't just read a book. Like Bob would impress upon us to study it. And what the author is saying here is that we're not limited by ability as much as we're limited by those internal rules, as Lou was saying. That we unconsciously live by. Again, as Lou said, we don't even examine our beliefs. Like we don't even, and one of the best things about, studying with this and having been mentored by Bob is just maybe the biggest takeaway was, or is, the increase in awareness that I have. And, these rules or these paradigms that we have, these rules are our beliefs, our assumptions, our habits, our expectations that we accept as true about success. We accept them to be true about effort, time, money, talent, and possibilities, right? Those are our paradigms, and we don't even challenge those beliefs, which we should. We should look at those. And as Jamel started out saying, what's common sense? What is common sense? What was common sense, 40 years ago is no longer exists. It was common sense that you couldn't fly, and Jamel said, the Wright brothers. Well, it wasn't common sense to believe that we could fly. It wasn't common sense that we could, have the internet and have video calls. That seems so futuristic. But our lives will follow the rules that we mentally have accepted. And if we don't examine them, we're going to get the same result over and over and over again. Why do we have, when we try to change our behavior, but that's so temporary because we're not changing what's in our subconscious mind. But when we change the rules, you can change the results. We're not talking about, we're talking about U squared, not talking about incremental, results. We're going to get into like trying harder. But many of our beliefs are based on, well, success takes a long time. Or you really have to struggle to get ahead, or big dreams. Those are unrealistic. I was speaking to a group of young high schoolers the other day, and we're talking about big dreams. I was saying, have a dream, like, unshackle your mind and just dream big. And this one young girl said, yeah, but you have to be realistic. Well, what is that? What does that mean? What does it mean to be realistic? And some people think, well, I need more experience before I can succeed. Or people like me don't reach those kind of levels. But, he's saying here that, we don't examine those things in our paradigms to become self-fulfilling. Our paradigms are shaping our decisions, our behavior, our confidence, and our results, ultimately our results. And we never consciously examine those beliefs and those assumptions. And that's really what we need to do. And most of them, we've inherited them. We've inherited them since we were a baby, like from our family and our environment, where we grew up, in school, and the cultures and our past experiences. So the author here in this chapter is really encouraging you or us to deliberately adopt new rules, make new rules. We have to change our thinking a bit. And if, at the very beginning, there was the story of the fly trying to get out the window and beating itself up against the window, trying to get out, where all that energy, and it could just fly a few feet through an open door. So we have to really examine our beliefs. And I think that's really one of the core messages in this chapter. Jamel?
Yeah, that's so good, Paul. That's so good. That word realistic really strikes me.
Yeah,
When I hear that. Right. Oh, you have to be realistic.
Mhm.
And obviously we all hear that very often, but what's so real about that statement? You've been programmed to believe what's real. It's conditioning. And like we share, there's my stick person there, but our eyes, what we see can be a gift and a curse. And that's all that's there. And your imagination, which is a mental faculty, is the only thing that allows you for you to leave your current circumstance and condition where you can envision this quantum leap that we're talking about, like this U squared. That's the only thing. So if you can't believe in what you can't see with your physical eyes, you'll never achieve it. This is why mentorship is essential and understanding yourself is essential, because these are things that you were never taught, most likely, and you didn't grow up with this type of knowledge, most likely, only a small select few. And now at this point in your life, you're attracting Coach's Corner while we're talking about this. It's by design. It's not on accident. Your spirit is seeking something and you're attracting this knowledge to reprogram you with the truth rather than these false beliefs that hold you back. So speaking of holding you back, this is so good. I want to read a little bit here. It says, as human beings, though, we ordinarily go with the obvious, right? We fall into the habit of relying on behaviors that seem to have worked best for us over the years. So we're just relying on these same behaviors we've been doing for so long, right? And I can attest to this, right? So when we take an approach that seems to be very serviceable and which enables us to perform well and succeed, we become very attached to it, right? So let's say you gain some type of success. You know, you got a decent job, you're getting, I don't know, whatever amount, a good check every 2 weeks or whatever. So it enabled you some type of success and you become attached to that, right? It's a part of your identity. And actually, it's part of your subconscious too. So we don't readily relinquish that habit pattern. We don't, especially if you had some type of success with it. And then it says, in fact, there's a tendency to follow our favorite approach more and more often. Favorite approach. So when you achieve some type of little success or you're, you know, something was good, you follow it, right? And you're not even thinking outside of the box anymore because it's kind of like a trap. You know that old saying with the carrot and the donkey, right? The donkey just keeps walking forward because that carrot's dangling right in his face, right? Because he wants to eat it. And it says such that we get better and better at handling things that particular way. Just like a lateral move. You're not even thinking about outside of that. So it says we resist new maneuvers because they make us feel clumsy, awkward, and more at risk. Wow. So for a lot of you, you probably don't even want to think about what you really want in your life because it's uncomfortable. And you haven't probably been using your imagination effectively. I've spoken to people, they're very uncomfortable talking about the money they really want, the success they really want, the life they really want, right? Because it even says it here. You feel clumsy, you feel awkward, you feel vulnerable, right? And more at risk. It says, but if you want to accelerate your rate of achievement rapidly, we're not talking, you know, just 10%, 5%. Money is easy to talk about. You know, maybe you want to go from earning $3,000 a month to maybe $10,000 a month. That's a good increase, right? So, but if you want to accelerate your rate of achievement rapidly, you must search out and vigorously deploy new behaviors and new attitudes. Always attitude, right? The attitude comes first. So you must be willing to break out of your routines. Anybody have routines here? Right? So in order to make the quantum leap, right? So we all have these routines that we've been carrying for years and years, and we can all talk about our routines, right? But new attitude is important because an attitude is a composition of your thoughts, feelings, and your actions. So if you're not even thinking about where you're going, what you really want every day, that's the foundation, right? And your feelings always follow your thoughts. And your actions, he talks about new behaviors. So that's your action, but you want inspired action. That's why you got to know where you're going. You got to know your dream, and you got to get emotionally involved with it. And you're connecting with it spiritually. The unseen part of you, the unseen part of you. And it's there. That's why you want things. You want things, you desire more in your life to grow. And that's why you're here watching this. So really think about getting out of these routines, and you have to. I love how Neville puts it. He says, you must become the moth in search of its idol, the flame.
Mm-hmm.
So you must be willing to die off that old self to become one with your higher self. And the higher self is your desire, is what you want.
Very good.
Thank you, man.
I wanted to touch upon, since we're talking kind of about rules and how they came to be. I also wanted to talk about. I think both of you talked about reality and what's realistic, and I often heard that growing up. I'm sure we all have. Get real. Get your head out of the clouds, earn a paycheck, things like that. Stop dreaming. I mean, when you think about it, just like Jamel mentioned, the Wright brothers, they were delusional, right? Tesla, delusional. Einstein, delusional. Marconi, delusional, right? But this is how you make greater achievements, accomplishments in your life, by kind of being delusional, if you will. But the other thing is to be aware of not only our own rules for success, but others. So this is why this is why mentorship is so important, and surrounding yourself in people who understand, who have experienced success, who understand the process, the creative process. Because when you talk about what it is that you truly want, what you want to experience in life, how you want to grow, what you want to contribute to society, the old gang may not understand that. And they may roll their eyes. They may tell you to get real, because those are their limiting beliefs, their rules for whatever they deem to be success and how to play the game. So it's very important to surround yourself with people who understand that each and every one of us has greater potential than what we are actually experiencing right now. So I think that's really important. And the new attitudes, um, just like Jamel was saying, is in self. It's what's possible for you, and to shift those thoughts, your perceptions, and your actions so they all align. So I think Jamel was talking about a carrot in front of the donkey. So that carrot is really your goal. It's what you want to experience in this lifetime, how you want to contribute to society, to your family, and what type of growth is necessary for that experience. So as it says, I don't know if it's in this chapter or past chapter, but the same old just gives you the same old. So we want to look for new possibilities for ourselves, and to remember our frequency is our currency. And that's why new attitudes, when you have a new attitude, you feel different. And that's the vibration and the frequency that you are giving off, not only to the universe, but to everyone around you. You just show up differently. You walk into a room differently. You speak differently. You start attracting the right people, the right resources, the right synchronicities that will help you experience what it is that you want to experience, whether it's the lifestyle, relationships, health, etc. You get to call the shots, but this is all an inside job. Everything's an inside job. So when we're surrounded with other people and they have a lot of influence on us, we want to be very careful about our frequency box, so to speak, and what we're allowing in, because that can affect, excuse me, how we think, how we feel, and how we end up showing up. Paul?
Yeah, thank you, Lou. That was really good.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, so and changing the rules, you know, doing this inner reflection and being aware of what we're thinking and examining our beliefs and, you know, trying to set up new rules. It's scary, right? It's scary, right? Because of all those things, we're afraid to fail. We're afraid of what other people will think. You know, what if I fall down? What if I, you know, don't make it? What if people, so, but it doesn't have to be more difficult. We have to change the way we're looking at things and adopt or create new rules. And as Lou said, it's our choice. It's your choice. You have the ability to choose. It's one of your greatest powers, is the ability to choose. And it's one of the things that separates us from the rest of the animal kingdom. And tell yourself, I mean, you've seen it everywhere. You know, breakthroughs can happen quickly and opportunities are abundant. You know, I can learn by doing. Like, so many people don't want to start. They have to be ready. And I'm not going to do it till I'm ready. You know, I teach young athletes and they want to be ready. They're not confident yet, but you don't get confidence. You don't wait for that to happen. You do the thing and then you get confident, right? You have to do the thing. That's how, you know, that's what makes you ready, by doing it. And you have to convince yourself that, hey, results can multiply dramatically. And you don't need permission to think bigger. You don't need permission to think bigger, to dream bigger. And as again, you know, that word always comes up. Well, that's thinking bigger. That's not realistic for me. That's not realistic. But there's so many stories out there of people who came from, who had nothing and worked their way up. Even our mentor, Bob Proctor. So, you know, it's a powerful theme in this chapter that the mind is going to search for evidence that supports whatever we believe. I was speaking to someone yesterday, like, whatever it is that you think, you can find evidence to support that belief, especially now when you go on the internet. There's so much, you know, if you don't filter through it, you can find anything to support what it is that you believe. So if you believe success must be difficult, you're going to notice obstacles everywhere. See that obstacle, see that happened, that went wrong. But if you believe that new opportunities are possible, you'll start to see possibilities that were previously invisible to you, that you didn't see before. And Jamel talks about believe in the unseen. You know, it's not seeing is believing, believing is seeing. So, you know, he's not saying to, you know, ignore reality or pretend challenges do not exist. Yeah, of course they do. But people really underestimate how much their assumptions really are shaping your external experiences. So, you know, stop measuring yourself by your past performance. I mean, where you are right now, that's your past thinking. But if you keep using your old standard and your old rules and you stick to your old paradigm, you tend to recreate the same old results. But you have to, you know, these quantum leaps that they're talking about or that Price Pritchett's talking about in this book, that requires a new internal framework. Can be a little bit scary, but can also be really, really exciting. Really exciting. So the limits in your life, they're not fixed. They're not fixed realities, but they are your personal rules that you accepted, right? As Lou said, we don't question our beliefs, but start questioning them. Jamel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where it begins. That's amazing when you question your beliefs, right? And you have to reevaluate, why do I believe that? And your beliefs, it's like that internal thermostat. It'll always keep you at that temperature of the belief that you have. And when you start looking at them and overriding them with beliefs you probably never believed, productive beliefs being that you're worthy, you're more than worthy for the success that you desire, or you're enough, or you're an abundant person, or you have a abundance of success in whatever it is that you want, you're actually choosing faith over fear. That's what you're doing. And it's interesting because we tend to believe more what's here. And I love that you brought that up, Paul, because it's past thinking. Your past thinking is where you are now. And this moment is the perfect moment to shift your thinking towards what you really want and what you're creating for your future. And that's what quantum leaps require. They require you to totally let go of these routines and these beliefs and this behavior. And as you're shifting your belief system and choosing faith these big goals, you're actually creating the future that you want by design. And you're logically doing it. And it's interesting because I didn't know how to do all this in the past. I didn't know the importance of this. And operating unconsciously for most of my life, just letting thoughts go around and letting the outside world shape the inside. But you're creating all of this, and you can create your quantum leap. It doesn't choose who's successful. Oh, I'm gonna make Lou successful. I'm gonna make Paul successful. I'm gonna make Jamel successful. No, it starts within with a choice and a belief. So, and I like how he segues to the next chapter here at the end. He says, and if you continue to rely on those old routines, maybe even leaning on them most when your performance flattens out or sags, you create a trap for yourself.
So true, right?
That's huge. So I love this quote. You can't escape a prison if you don't know that you're in one.
Mm-hmm.
So we create these prisons of our own making with our beliefs and don't even know that we're limiting our success and our livelihood and even your family's livelihood, right? So, and then he says, there's a certain irony here. Your historically most dependable behaviors can become the major obstacles to future success. Wow. It's possible for them to cripple your progress. So if you're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, that's the definition of insanity, right? So it's very interesting. And he says they may stand as personal boundary lines that limit what you can accomplish with your life. So these are personal boundaries that you're setting with your own beliefs and your current behavior, expecting a different result. You have to think differently, and you have to believe in what you really want and create that version of you. And it's just so connected to Neville because you have to kind of you behave from the end. You have to think from the end, think from the goal. And how do you do that? Right? And it starts with belief. It really does. In anything in your life, you believe, look around you. You believe that you can buy a certain thing or have something in your life. You're surrounded by your beliefs, actually. So you've been using this muscle, but now you can shift it to whatever it is you want. And that's the beauty of it. Anybody had anything else to say on this chapter? Should we move on, or I don't know?
Yeah, I just want to just just a little reminder and a question. So these rules quietly drive our behavior without even realizing. So before we hop on to the next chapter, just ask yourself, what is one rule about success that you learned about growing up that you are still carrying with you? Just a great question to think about. So I wanted to, should we hop on to the next chapter?
Sure. Kick it
Quit
off, Lou.
trying harder. So, Jamel, do you want to read a little bit from that,
Yeah,
or
sure. Yeah, this
you're a
chapter, I
good reader?
mean, I can definitely relate to this. Everybody can,
Sure.
right? Quit trying harder. This comes from, the hustle mentality. I have to work harder than the next person and over and long days. So it says quantum leaps cannot be achieved through incremental steps or through more of the same, right? So we already talked about that. You've got to shift gears, right? You have to follow new patterns of thought and action. Notice thought comes first, right? The rules of what works and what doesn't always change when you're trying to make a move from normal performance to U squared. That's good. The rules of what works and what doesn't always change when you're trying to make a move from normal performance to U squared. So stop and think about it. Here's the way it goes. More of the same usually just gives you more of the same. Of course, if that's mainly what you're after, fine. Try a little harder and get a little bigger payoff. Try a lot harder and you can expect a lot better results, right? Well, possibly, but it's definitely not a sure thing. Lou, did you want to continue there?
I love the next line because I have the next line highlighted. Sooner or later, you're going to reach a point where you just can't try any harder.
Mhm.
And this is what brings us again back to the previous chapter on your beliefs, the rules of success in your life, because beliefs have a frequency. I want you to really hear that. Beliefs have a frequency. So a person might think, let's work longer hours. Well, there's only so many hours in a day and in a week. And let's think of people that have really achieved big success. They have the same amount of hours, but they're more focused. They know where to take action, when to take action. They create new ideas with their attitude. They're always thinking bigger because our goal calls for a different version of us. Think about that. Our goal calls for an elevated version of us. So it's not just the achieving of the thing, it's becoming the person that experiences the thing. So just because you're working longer hours or making more phone calls or read more books, taking more information, results don't change because the thinking and beliefs behind the actions haven't changed. I wrote this down the other day. I want you to think about this. The mind directs the brain and the nervous system, which shifts our vibration of our physical body to move into a different action in order to get a different reaction. This is what alters our results. So you see, it is a process, but it's all internal, right? And as I mentioned earlier, to understand your results, observe the results. Again, Beliefs have a vibration, and even though you may not be consciously thinking about your beliefs, they're still driving that behavior. You want to go do something, right? And you get excited, and then you like almost hit a wall because here comes that belief. Well, you can't do that. No one in your family has done that before, or no one that you know has done that before, or da 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 da. Or how do you know how to do all of those? That what is that called? The noisy roommate from what's that book? I can't think of his name. Anyways, so that noisy roommate keeps coming up, and those are the paradigms, those are the beliefs, and those beliefs anchor us to where we are. So again, it's a process, and it comes from the mind. The mind, right, directs the physical organ of the brain and our nervous system. So that's why, what are you thinking of? The original thought, right? So this is why it's so important. So just trying to work harder, you can burn out because it's your internal processing system that's directing your results, your actions, everything. Paul?
Thank you, Lou.
Oh, wait, that deserves. Thank you. See, look at the synergy here. There we go.
Um, I love, it's an older movie. You may not, a lot of people may have not have seen it, but a Clint Eastwood movie, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I love that movie. And the Tuco, one of the characters in it, he says something really interesting. It's quite profound. He says, if you work for a living, then why are you killing yourself at work? And it's such an interesting thing. We're talking about, quit trying harder, more of, more hours. Like Lou said, there's only so many hours. You want to put in more hours. You got to do this harder. You got to push yourself more. And so quit trying harder. This chapter, it's really challenging. One of those, and that is probably a deeply accepted belief about success. The answer to bigger results is more effort, more hours, more struggle, harder work. And when people want better results, that's their instinct, push harder. But he's suggesting that this approach actually is keeping, maybe keeping you trapped at the same level, because you're still using your same thinking. You're still using your same strategies. You're still operating with the same paradigms that created your current results, right? Your current results is due to your past thinking. So these quantum leaps, they don't come from doing more of the same. They come from operating differently. So excessive effort, like, it could really become a limitation, because when you become over focused on, forcing and grinding and controlling the outcomes, you lose your creativity. I think Jamel brought up before, your imagination. You're not using your imagination effectively. You're narrowing your thinking. You're becoming reactive instead of, holding or having or creating a vision, and becoming a visionary instead. And it reinforces struggle as the operating. That's the pattern. But so that's all like linear. Jamel mentioned before, linear effort, as opposed to this quantum leap. So the linear effort says, hey, work harder, add more time, push more forcefully. You will improve, incrementally, slowly. But these quantum leaps we're talking about is, hey, challenge your beliefs, think differently, expand your possibilities, right? mastermind with people, leverage ideas and relationships, and surround yourself with people that are, like-minded, that are thinking bigger on a different scale, operate from a higher level of awareness, challenge your beliefs and focus on, I say, being effective, or focus on effectiveness rather than, working till you're exhausted. So he's saying, like, these breakthrough performances, they often actually will feel lighter, not heavier. Doesn't have to be harder. It doesn't have to be harder on you. Really successful people, they're not generally carrying more emotional strain. They're actually operating with clearer thinking, and they have stronger belief systems, and they make better decisions, and they have greater leverage. So it's not about avoiding discipline, but again, just questioning the belief that struggle is the proof of value or progress, because it really, really isn't. Jamel.
Yeah, this is such a great topic to talk about, because so many people, have that belief, like you mentioned. Hello, thanks for joining us. That, struggle, right? Hustle, work harder. And I come from this background. This, like, my parents worked really hard, through my whole life. Most of my life. That's all I saw. They had multiple jobs. They're doing so many hours. They come home exhausted and do it all over again. And it became very normal for us to see, as a family. And I adapted these beliefs. I was like, okay, if I work harder, work really hard, I can achieve whatever it is I want. And quantum leaps, it's not by force and physical effort to burnout. And I can really relate to this because I want to grab my stick person. And, when you're taking action without being in harmony with your goal, meaning believing in where you're headed and actually having clear vision, you're moving at a steady pace in a calm, confident manner. So if you're just forcing things, this is your body, this is your conscious and subconscious. So if you have a belief in your conscious mind, right? I believe I can do that, or have that, or be that, but you don't believe it here in your subconscious, right? That's where the subconscious actually dictates the vibration of the body and the behavior. So you can actually force behavior physically without a true belief, feeling that you can do that. So that's when you're out of harmony and you're constantly trying to do things and trying harder, but you have no vision and no true belief there connecting with, the so-called end goal, or your big goal that you want. And a lot of people operate like that. It's like running a race, not knowing if you'll even place or win. You have, your belief, you have no belief. I'll just try and see what happens. I'll just keep trying harder. It should work, right? There's no true belief in the goal and what you really want, and you're out of harmony. Now, if you know by faith, knowing, right? And it's there for you. You're just acting to receive because it wants to give you what you want. And that it's there, and every day you're taking inspired action. It's energy that comes from within. So it's focused with gratitude and faith, knowing you're taking the steps at a steady pace. You're not trying to run 1,000 steps in 1 minute or whatever, or a marathon in a day and do another marathon the next day. That's insane, right? And I like what he says here to continue. He says, it may be that your spirit flags, or that your physical and mental resources are stretched to the limit. And often, well before you come to that set of circumstances, you reached a point of diminishing return. Trying harder and harder starts producing less and less. Sometimes, in fact, intensifying your efforts produces nothing except bigger problems. That's massive, right? So, and we talked about the story of the fly. So that was at the beginning of this session of the book. So go back and watch that replay. So it's basically trying to go through a window when you can go through the open door that's right on the other side, but you don't see it yet and you're not aware of it. And this is why reevaluating your beliefs, you can see more clearly, you know. And he says, now this is not an argument against self-discipline or persistence. I'm glad he says that, because he says those are true virtues. So over a lifetime, they can make a powerful contribution to success and achievement. So this is not eliminating self-discipline. You'll need discipline. Like that's a leadership quality, right? And all of us, have levels of discipline, because we're human, right? And persistence, right? So you need a goal to have persistence. So he says, not an argument against it. He said they're fundamental to the development of your talents. It's extremely important to apply yourself diligently and sometimes staying power. Listen to that. Staying power is what delivers a big win. So when he says staying power, that really jumps out to me, because I feel the staying power is effortless when you believe that goal is achievable, or even believe in the goal for you, right? Remember harmony. The staying power is always having a vision where you're going, for one. If you don't know what you want, that's the vision I'm talking about. And believing it. So now when you have the belief in your subconscious, your body is taking action from that place. It's not trying to get to something. It's already there. And it's a different way of thinking. And at the end there, he says, but ordinarily you will find that trying harder produces only incremental gains, not quantum leaps, right? So forced effort will not give you quantum leaps. Also, keep in mind that trying harder, even a lot harder, sometimes offers little more than a straight path to burnout. I experienced many burnout experiences because I tried hard and attempting to succeed through more of the same, being resolute and relying on committed effort can blind you to better pathways. So it's like you're running this straight line and you don't see anything. You have tunnel vision and you don't see that you can go that way. That way is so much easier and it's effortless. And that starts with, your awareness and your belief, right? You become more aware when you believe. So
Very
that's my
good.
spell on it.
Yeah, awesome. So I have a question written here. And as I'm reading the question, I go, oh, yeah, for sure. Question is, have you ever solved the problem by stepping back rather than pushing harder? And I remember Bob telling us we're the only problem, we're the only solution. And I didn't like hearing that when I first heard it, but now I understand. Because really, when you think about it, where does the problem lie? It's in your head. Even if the bank account or the relationship is a fact, right? Because it's the result, it's how you're interpreting it and what you believe about that. And that's all in our head. There are, give or take 8 billion people in the world. There are 8 billion different realities. Some may overlap, some may be very, very similar, but each reality is unique and will never be relived. Like every person's life will never be relived. You have your own unique life, your own unique experiences. So if there's around 8 billion people, how many problems are there? Right? And where do they all come from? From our thinking. So this is why, again, being aware, first of all, is really the first step. Being aware of your results, being aware, is this what I want to continue to experience or not? And in being aware that we are the highest form of creation, and it is all within us. We are, or you are, the most important person in your life. How does that land? Is there a little resistance? Oh, no, my kids are the most important in my life. My partner is the most important person in my life. So are you just a supporting actor in your own life? So these are just a couple of great questions. First, one question is, have you ever solved the problem by stepping back? Because when you're focused on a problem, we're putting all our attention, and we're trying harder and harder and harder to try to come up with a solution. But when we step back, that's surrendering. We've now taken our focus and attention off the problem, and now we've kind of surrendered by stepping back, and now we're allowing solutions to come to us. But if we're so focused, like Jamel said, with tunnel vision, it has to be this way, it has to be this way, I got to just keep trying harder and harder and harder, we're creating resistance. And when two people push back, there's resistance, nothing happens. But as soon as one lets go, there's no resistance. So try stepping back from the problem and see and allow other solutions and other opportunities and resources to flow to you. Paul?
Thank you, Lou. I want to touch on a little point that Jamel made, and he's talking about when he read from the chapter here that the author said it's not an argument against self-discipline or persistence. I mean, those are real virtues. But persistence doesn't just mean in physically, doing something and working harder, being persisting, but persisting in, creating a new way of thinking and new habits and developing new habits, and persist in that and have self-discipline in those things. Because if you believe that success is difficult, you're going to resist easier pathways because a struggle feels familiar, and that's what you deserve. But hard work alone, I wrote something here, hard work alone doesn't create extraordinary results. Extraordinary results come from extraordinary thinking. So Bob Proctor taught us that results are an expression of our consciousness. So it's, as Lou said, it's really about shifting from force to flow. Right? You just from trying harder to thinking at a higher level, and to have self-discipline in those areas, and in stepping back, as Lou said, stepping back and taking a look, examining what our thinking is, what our thinking was, and how we can develop a new line of thought. And it doesn't have to be, like it says, it's not about always trying harder. There's different ways and new ways of thinking, but really have that self-awareness to, again, as I said previously, challenge your own beliefs and look at, where does that thinking originate from? Where did you get that thinking from? What caused you to think that way? And, try and develop a new way of thinking. And things are often a lot lighter and easier. Jamel.
Amazing. This has been a great session. A great session. Speaking of a new way, why don't you try our way? Reach out to one of us, set up a complimentary call, and see if we can help you with this material. You know, doing this on your own is very challenging, and it feels like you're trying harder when you're on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And why not learn from people, experts that do this every day, and apply it to their livelihood as well. And this way you have accountability as well, to shift these beliefs that have been holding you back. And they will continue to hold you back. It will, as long as they sit there in your mind. And there's a process to shift your beliefs. And we would love to help you with that. Otherwise, you'll keep getting the same results. And I wish I've done this a long time ago, but I'm grateful that I have, and I will continue to, because I am aware of what I'm doing now with my beliefs and how it shapes what I'm creating in my life. So great session, everyone. We'll see you next Sunday on Coach's Corner. Quick announcement. Today is the last day of my 5-day challenge.
Ooh.
And 2 bonus days. So 7 days you've been seeing me. So, you know, shout out to everyone, all the people I've met and spoken to. And, you know, for those that, you know, been there live every single day, let's go out with a bang today. All right. I'll see you there at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. All right, everybody. Have an awesome one.
Thank you.
Thank you.